So this tell us one important thing, that is the conflict today is complex, interconnected and deeply human. And it is not only fought through weapons but also through words, narratives and perceptions. Whereas many traditional conflicts are rooted in rigid identities of caste, religion, ethnicity, gender or nationality. For youth who are highly active in digital spaces, this becomes both a challenge and a responsibility. Now, second is that youth participation in peace process is often symbolic rather than substantive. That is, the young people can actively counter hate speech, that misinformation and propaganda. Today, when we speak about conflict and peace, we cannot ignore the reality that we are living in an increasingly volatile and interconnected world. So, contemporary conflicts are no longer confined to borders, they ripple across regions, economies, and societies. So, the ongoing tension between the United States and Iran serve as a powerful reminder of this. And what may begin as a geopolitical rivalry rooted in just nuclear negotiation, strategic interest, and historical mistrust quickly transformed into a global concern, influencing oil markets, security discourse, and even the public opinions across continents. So, this tell us one important thing, that is the conflict today is complex, interconnected, and deeply human. And it is not only fought through weapons, but also through words, narratives, and perceptions. So, and this is exactly what where the youth come in. And as a young scholar of political science, I would like to position youth not merely as massive observers of conflict, but as active agents of peace building, who are capable of reshaping how the entire conflict resolution, or capable of reshaping how the conflicts are understood and resolved. So, now why youth matters in conflict resolution? So, the first youth today represents, we can say that they represents a first truly digital generation. And we are born into a world shaped by a artificial intelligence, then social media and real-time information flows. So unlike the previous generations, we do not encounter conflict only through textbooks or news reports. We experience it instantly through live updates, then viral videos and the a algorithm driven narratives. So this means that youth are not just witness to conflict, they are also participant in how conflicts are discussed, interpreted, and sometimes even intensified. So at the same time, this digital exposure gives youth a unique capability, or that is a unique capacity to challenge dominant narratives, to question the misinformation, and to create an alternative discourse of peace. Now, secondly, my topic is completely related to youth perspective on conflict resolution and peace building. So now, secondly, we can say that why youth matters in conflict resolution is that youth embody a growing openness to diversity and inclusion. Whereas many traditional conflicts are rooted in rigid identities of caste, religion, ethnicity, gender, or nationality. So, however, However, the younger generation are increasingly questioning these fixed categories. There is a visible shift towards fluid identities, that is flexible identities, intersectionality, and mutual respect. So this openness creates possibilities for dialogue, empathy, and coexistence, which are essential foundations for sustainable peace. Now, thirdly, we can say that youth bring energy, creativity, and importantly, grassroots engagement and peace process. That is from student-led movements to digital campaigns. Young people often act faster and more innovatively than the formal institutions. Whether it is organizing discussions on campuses or universities, creating awareness through social media, or participating in civil society initiatives, youth are constantly experimenting with new forms of engagement. This dynamism is crucial in a world where traditional conflict resolution mechanisms often appear slow and rigid. Now, there are also challenges faced by these kinds of youth in peace building. So, one of the most pressing challenge today is it is due to AI and other social media platforms. That is misinformation and digital polarization. That is in conflicts such as the recent Iran-US tensions. Narratives are no longer controlled solely by government or traditional media. The algorithms play a powerful role in shaping what we see and believe. The content that is emotionally charged or sensational is often amplified while refined perspectives are sidelined. So, this creates an echo chamber where individuals are exposed only to views that reinforce their existing beliefs. So the result is what scholars describe this as information disorder, a situation where misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation blur the boundaries between truth and falsehood. Now, for youth who are highly active in digital spaces, this becomes both a challenge and a responsibility. Now, second is that youth participation in peace process is often symbolic rather than substantive. That while young people are increasingly included in discussions, their role is frequently limited to representation rather than decision making. They are invited to panels, consultations, and forums, but rarely given the authority to influence policy outcomes. So this creates a gap between potential and actual impact. Now, thirdly, the structural inequality that continues to shape youth participation. Not all youth have equal access to platforms, resources, or opportunities. The factors such as class, caste, gender, and geography determines whose voice are heard and whose are marginalized. So, therefore, when we speak of youth perspectives, we must also recognize this diversity within the youth itself. Now, the pathways, that is, what can the youth do for peace? That is, despite these challenges, youth have immense potential to contribute meaningfully to peace building. So the first is the digital peace building. That is an emerging and powerful tool. That is, the young people can actively counter hate speech, then misinformation and propaganda by promoting fact checking, then critical thinking and responsible communication. So they can use social media not as a space for division, but as a platform for dialogue and awareness. So in doing so, they transform the digital spaces into arenas of peace rather than conflict. Now, secondly, is the peer-to-peer conflict resolution. It is very crucial thing. That is, the conflicts often emerge in everyday spaces. even classrooms, campuses, communities. The youth can act as a mediator, facilitating dialogue, encouraging empathy, and promoting understanding. The student-led peace clubs, then discussion forums, and informal mediation mechanism can play a significant role in addressing conflicts at the grassroots levels. So, thirdly, the youth can contribute by creating inclusive platforms for dialogue. So now the piece is not about eliminating differences. It is about managing them constructively. So by organizing interfaith youth dialogues, then intercultural exchanges and discussions across social boundaries, youth can foster a culture of mutual respect and understanding. Now the fourth thing is that natives, that is youth must engage critically with the technology or with AI. So artificial intelligence is not a neutral one. It reflects the biases and values embedded within it. And therefore, the young people must not only consume the technology, but also question and shape it. That is, they must advocate for an ethical AI practices that promote inclusion, reduce bias, and prevent the spread of harmful content. Now, conclusion. To conclude, peace is not merely the absence of war. It is the presence of dialogue, justice, empathy, and understanding. So, youth today are not waiting to inherit a peaceful world. They are ready to question, challenge, and actively create one. So, however, for this potential to be realized, youth must be trusted, empowered, and meaningfully included in peace process, not as a symbols, but as stakeholders.